of your quotes when it comes to hype?
Yes. So this is actually a quote that I remember putting on the cap, my graduation cap when I graduated from Stevenson University. And I remember I said, hype fades, but legacy remains. And I remember at the time, this was about 5 years ago. And so I remember at the time I'd be like, okay, I'm starting this new chapter of my life. Um, I just graduated. Now I'm like really stepping myself into the real world. And I remember there's so many things that can happen. Like, I'm a person that likes to say I'm an overcoming perfectionist because I've always been calculated and wanted to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, doing the right moves, and almost to a deficit a little bit because that's not really allowing yourself to really express how you feel or even giving yourself room to make error. And I remember feeling like, okay, I want to make this perfect move. So if I get this specific job, then it'll open my doors to doing music or being in the entertainment industry. If I do this or whatever, I meet this connect, I'll be able to network with them and get my leg up in the entertainment industry. And to me, I'm like, I'm always thinking about like what can happen. And there's so many things that are in our life that can just come and go. And a lot of things that we are wanting in the moment can actually just change within an instant. And I think we saw that with COVID and the pandemic. A lot of people's passions and desires kind of came and went because of, outside factors and things that happened that were not in our control. And I remember thinking at that moment and kind of sitting back during that COVID period and kind of like even reflecting on that quote, like things can come and go. Like even when it comes to like music and people liking a post in social media and what you think that should be getting the more likes doesn't, and the things that you put up and you're like, really, this gets the most likes or the most attention, and you're like, I thought it was going to resonate the other way, but I think that it's very temporary. And a lot of the applause, and like even when you're performing and you're seeing people that are like really congratulating you on stage or they loved your performance here and there, then you kind of like years go by, time goes by, and people move on. We all move on, we grow, we evolve. And we can't just stay stuck in that era of praise, and we can't stay stuck in that moment in time where people were like congratulating us. There's going to be times and periods in our lives where people are going to be hating us, where people don't like us at all, where you have to sit by yourself and learn to love who you are through it. And so I was like, what's something that I can continue to keep with me, and what's going to allow my story to be told? And not only my story, but the story of so many others, where it feels like you had moments in life where, you were applauded and you had successes, but you are not defined by your successes. The totality of your life is so much more than a Grammy. It's so much more than getting that achievement or getting that house or that car. It's everything that's included in that experience and that journey. And when I talk about legacies, like what am I leaving for the next generation? What am I doing to set myself up for success? And I mean that in allowing myself to have errors and spaces to mess up and to have flaws and to be okay with admitting that, and then being real and authentic with my songwriting and be able to tell my story in that way. And then how can I continue to move forward and evolve and be in community with people who are striving to become the best versions of themselves? And how can I, tell that to somebody younger and tell that younger version of myself, like, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not have everything together, look for people who are going to help you and are genuine and authentic that will help you along your way. And then also giving your space, your giving yourself time to breathe a little bit because time heals all wounds. We all heard the quote, but I think that sometimes even in the corniness or some of the cliches that we hear so often, they are really true. And it's only in those moments when you have to deal with certain things that a smile goes a long way. Making someone laugh goes a long way. And I know sometimes the things that we think are temporary, that don't really mean anything. Some of those temporary things actually help go a long way. And so I think being able to decipher and delineate between the two, about how you show up in the world and how you present yourself and how you want to be able to live not in just the life of performing and not just being put on a performance for everyone, but how can you kind of like when the curtains close, when the lights are shut off, when everyone is gone, how do you continue to keep striving? How do you continue to keep telling your story? And I think that to me, being able to do that through my art, being able to show up in the real world and have conversations like this are meaningful and impactful to not only me, but to everyone who's listening and everyone who wants to be inspired and motivated to keep going forward.
Yeah, no, man, you definitely said it with that, man. I mean, it's so much more to life than just being seen, and it's just even showcasing different, sides of you, whether it's on the artistic side or political side or whatever, knowing who you are is very important. Loving yourself and being confident in who you are, it goes a long way, because if you're only motivated by the flicks of the camera and stuff like that, then it's one of those things where you can be controlled by it too. You know what I'm saying? The roar of the crowd, that could be something that fuels you, but at the same time, that's only for a moment in time. You're gonna need something that's gonna, feed you more than just for those different moments and stuff like that. Because us as human beings, being connected to a higher frequency is important. You know what I mean? And understanding your purpose and what makes you happy versus what you're being spoon fed to say is going to make you happy. You know what I mean? In that regard. But I wanted to ask you, well, or I do want to add this real quick. So I know you was mentioned about sometimes you may not get applause and things of that nature. I know for myself, it's been times where I perform where you know I might have gave a lot of energy, but I didn't receive that back. And the way I took it is hey, some people, they just like to take things in. You know what I'm saying? And they may, after the fact, may say, hey, I like what you did, or this really resonate, because a lot of times people don't really show their emotion or their feelings. They just kind of like to take time to process it, understand it,
Hmm.
and then give their feedback or constructive criticism to you and stuff like that. And there's been many occasions like that, and I realize when I'm performing that when I'm looking out into the crowd, I'm seeing the faces, but I want to let them know, and without whatever I'm performing and things of that nature, just know like, hey, this is me, whether you accept it or not. This is who I am. And a lot of people, just off of your confidence and your energy and the words that you're saying, okay, this person, it's something about them that no matter what reception they get, they're still going to be them outside of them just performing. And I think that's something that you definitely made some great points on with that. So
I wanted to also
yeah, go
add
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
because I think that it's very valuable and key what you said is because there are many times where we'll have like audiences where, like you said, there's people who won't say anything, won't do anything, won't even move or applause that much. And there are people that are processing what's happening. And it's funny because sometimes even after the performance is done, you'll probably get in your head and you'll be like, dang, a lot of people, they're not like saying anything. Did I do a good job or did I do that bad of a job that they weren't even applauding or they weren't even clapping or even like came up to me or something like that? And then a lot of people, they'll process and being like, wow, this is something that I've never seen before. and I really don't know how to express how I'm feeling about what they just did on stage. Like they sang and performed like really well. And I remember one time after I finished a talent show, and this was when I was like in 11th or 12th grade or something like that. And people were like, wow, like you're totally different than what I thought you were, like on stage versus like in real life. Like I would never have imagined that you had like all this confidence and all this other things that you were doing on stage. And so a lot of people are a little bit taken aback when it comes to you performing live on stage. And they're like, wow, like I don't even know what words to say. So even in our own mind, in our own judgment, sometimes we can get in our head and being like, I don't even know if they think that we did a good job, but when really they're just processing everything that we just did. And even when it comes to the other side of that, when people aren't applauding, I also have to say to this, I remember going to a music conference and they were talking about like, it takes just as much courage for you to go up on stage for the crowd to actually respond to what you're doing. And a lot of people, they are not willing to really applaud or like scream or make noise or do anything that you would want for the feedback, because a lot of the times that takes courage. It takes courage to be the main one, like standing up in a sea of other people. It takes courage to be like, you know what, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to cheer this guy on stage. And I may look a little crazy because everyone else is sitting down, but I'm really going to take the time to be like, I don't care. I really resonate with um, this artist that's on stage. And so it takes courage for people to actually give you feedback while you're on stage. And a lot of people also, a lot of people, they're just not in tune, or they're like also in their heads. So they're not really like being present in the moment. And I think that's what we have to kind of go back to is like, I know even when we do open mics or things like that, a lot of the times we'll kind of be like, all right, I'm like two people down. I'm going next or whatever, and we're kind of like in our own heads. But sometimes we gotta allow ourselves to be present in the moment and allowing ourselves to respond to what's happening on stage. And if it's resonating with you, being bold and courageous enough to be like, you know what? I actually like this guy or girl who's performing on stage. I don't care if I'm going to make noise. So it takes that level of confidence just as much as it takes the level of confidence for you to perform on stage.
That's exactly right. Just like I said, getting out your own way and being confident in what you do, it goes a long way. And I do want to mention something too. Um, if you're in a showcase or at an open mic, and there's somebody who might be similar, to you, and I'm speaking to any artist out here who's listening to this. If you're a competitive person, that's cool. But for me, I'm not in competition with nobody. I'm on the bill with. What I'm doing is something that I put the time, the hard work in, the early mornings, the nights, writing, finishing songs, making sure the performance and the choreography is where I need to be at, making sure my mindset, mental, everything is where I need to be at, going to that. So anybody that feels like when you go out to these places, you know what I'm saying, and if it's a contest, of course, you're gonna, it's gonna be, you're gonna have that competitive nature in it. But there's sometimes where I hear people who, they may do something similar as another artist, and then there's this competition, or who you think the best, or and all this, and I think that sometimes strips away from the pure artistry that a lot of people can, showcase, versus just trying to do something for a competition purpose. Like, oh well, now I'm gonna have songs like this that is going to get the crowd in more in my favor and stuff like that. When it's just like, just be yourself, because if what you got is going to resonate with people, that's what it's going to do. You know what I mean? But if you're forcing yourself on people, or you're making people say, hey, look, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I want to let y'all know right now I'm the best, you know what I'm saying, this and that, now the show's starting. Like, I've seen people, say and do certain things, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to like performing or getting ready to go up on stage. I'm like, hey, you know what I'm saying, to each his own, do you. But the thing about it is, it's one thing to say it, and it's one thing to actually, you know what I'm saying, show it in real time. And people seeing that, they also seeing your humility as well. And I think having a good amount of humility takes you a long way too. You know what I mean? Sometimes people don't understand that, and that just all goes into professionalism. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that? You know, as far as showing humility and being able to be confident, but not being, you know, saying just overly, like overly confident, or as some people would say, just cocky.
It's definitely a balance, like you said. But I think the thing that kind of separates you apart and allows you to make sure that you have pure intentions with what you're doing is you got to realize the people who you're serving. You're serving an audience, you're not serving yourself. At the end of the day, of course, you want your story to be told. You want to be able to showcase what you have to offer. But what's the intentions behind being so confident that nothing sticks, nothing resonates, and nothing allows you to kind of walk away with um, hearing what another person has to say because, oh, he's just up there showboating. Okay, that's cool. Uh, it has nothing to do with me. It just has everything to do with you. And if you wanted to do that, you can get off stage gladly so because if I'm seeing a performer on stage, I want to be able to be like, oh, I love this song or I love this lyric. I love what they have to say. But if you're just up here being cocky and overly confident, then it's just like, okay, how are we getting anywhere with this? How is this going to, if how am I going to leave this venue or this place and being like, wow, that stuck with me. I can move forward.
Yeah, I I mean, what you're saying is so much that goes into uh performing, and the mental part. The mental part is just like, I feel like such a major component. Just sitting there waiting your turn. Thinking about all the time that you put into what you're doing, and appreciating others too. I think that's what I enjoy the most, as well as performing, is like seeing people like yourself, other people that I've come in contact with and network with and stuff like that. Just seeing, like, okay, I know the work ethic that this person has, and like seeing you enjoying what you do is just like, that just makes the energy in the room, what I'm saying, go on another level. So that's a great thing,
Exactly.
man, for you to be able to have that mindset to kind of go forth like that. Before we close out, I want to ask you this question. When it comes to dancing, and I know, like, say you have songs where maybe you don't have to put any choreography behind it, but how do you feel when it comes to maybe performing somewhere and you don't dance or whatever like that, or do any choreography for that particular open mic or showcase? Like, has it been times where people were like, hey, well, hey man, why you ain't dance? Or hey, I thought you was gonna dance and stuff like that. Like, have you ever come across that? I just want to know, since you are, like, say, a fellow dancer as well.
I remember that happened one time when I went to an open mic, and he was like, I thought you were gonna go up there and do some dancing. I was like, first, the stage was too small, so I can't really move a lot with this. And then second, the song doesn't call for dancing. And so I just think, people when they first see you or experience you, and then you're performing and dancing, that's what they are going to have in their minds, and that's what they're going to think, that you're going to be continuing to do that every time you do something. But you're also, like we said earlier, you're flexible, you're versatile, you're able to do multiple different things and have a variety of things and not just being in one box. So if I'm a performer, that means I'm performing in multifaceted ways. I'm not just going to be continuing to keep singing and dancing every set or every open mic or every performance that I'm doing. I started out I started out separately doing dancing and gymnastics, and then just singing, and then so I didn't start merging the two and really doing that until I was around middle school, high school age. And so to me, I think that just I'm able to show that there's strength in both, but there's a strength in also separating the two and being like, I can also be able to just sing and really just be able to convey that message in a way that's just as powerful if I was performing when I'm singing and dancing. So I think that people, they're going to get used to what they love or they're excited about. So it's actually a compliment in a way to be able to be like, oh, they really resonated with what I was performing and dancing. But then also there's other people on the other side that I have looked at your performance this time and then being like, wow, you can really sing. And then be like, thank you, I really appreciate you. And you're able to build that, audience and connection with the other people that resonated with that performance. So it's just being flexible and realizing how people first encounter you, and then also continue to move forward and, be you. As long as you're doing what fits the best for the song and the performance, then I think that goes a long way. And like we just talked about, authenticity, I feel like it's being preached down people's throats. But I think that it's being preached down our throats because, like, it's so easily it's so easy to kind of be caught up in the artificial and the superficial things where it takes us and disconnects us from what we really want as human beings. Everybody wants to be loved, everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants to be respected, and everybody wants to have a place of significance. And I think that when you're able to learn and grow in these different aspects of life, performing or not performing, I think you have to be real to who you want, to how you want to move forward, and then also what you desire. And if you're desiring community, if you're desiring to be seen, of course, with humility and grace, I think that you're able to, get that. I mean, whatever you're searching for, whatever you're looking for, whatever is in your heart's desire, I believe that you will, with persistence and perseverance, you will be able to achieve that. It may not show up in the full capacity or the fantasy way that we sometimes may think, but I think it'll still resonate with you and you'll still be able to get the essential parts of what you're looking for, whether that be performing or as a human being in general.
You know, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. With all of that, I mean, I just, sometimes I try to sit and take everything in, when I'm getting, whether it's advice or opinions or hearing what people might, as you're saying, like gravitate to. But I also realize that some people, they just, they want something where they don't always have to do a lot of thinking. And that kind of ties into Super Bowl. It was like, I don't know if you, watched the performance and stuff like that, but a lot of people
Yeah.
just wanted, more energy, less, pro blackness or politicalness, and just just something fun. And I feel like that's okay, but I mean, there's seasons for everything, and I think what's happening is now a good majority of people are only gravitating to just that, and it's watering down people being authentic because they feel like, okay, I gotta do this to, what I'm saying, please those that are gonna, what I'm saying, maybe book me for a show or support me and stuff like that, because there's a lot of great artists who they don't get none of their stuff shared or really the support they should be getting, because it's like, people just, people are following them, and they appreciate them as an artist, as they say, but then it's just like, it's the stuff that they promote or they share or whatever like that is stuff that just kind of counters what they sometimes say they're looking for. I don't know if you've been hearing people say, oh, man, like what happened to the artists, like the artists from the 90s or the early 2000s, like music is so different, this and that, but then
Yes.
the only thing they promote is the total opposite of that. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, how do you expect for the narrative to change if you continue to play into it?
I think it's because we've gotten into a space where we've allowed digital to kind of overcome everything that we're looking for as person to person and that human connection. Because I think we all kind of, for the most part, I would say, we want that human connection. We want that soulfulness. We want something that resonates and sticks with us, that's timeless, um, that's something that we can like kind of go back to and that has replay value. And so, but I think what's kind of hard to recognize is that the way that the digital world is moving so fast and the way that technology is kind of like pumping so many different things in our face, and we're all trying to like learning how to navigate it and trying to learn what ways we can really profit from it, that we're so consumed with the digital and technology that we kind of disassociate and disconnect ourselves from what we actually desire as humans. And I think it's hard to kind of separate the two unless it's like in person. If it's different if we're, on social media, we put a performance on there and a clip on there, and then people comment or whatever they like, they don't like or whatever. People scroll, they keep going, they move, and that's just generally how it is. But if we were to take people outside of that and those same people and put them in a public space and they weren't able to move, they weren't able to, all right, let's swipe right, swipe left, whatever, let's scroll, let's keep going, then that wouldn't happen in that way. And I think some of the traditional type of things, which I just feel like it goes back to what I've been saying. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it goes back to what I've been saying about like merging the two, the past and the present, and kind of creating a better future. As like there are some essentials that are in the past that a lot of digital and a lot of people that are working now are just trying to throw away everything that was what was. But there are some essentials that are and are continuing to be overlooked because we're so consumed with what's happening now and seeing what sticks, that we haven't learned from the past and seeing what actually worked. And then also kind of complementing each other and like allowing the two to really merge in a way that's, real and that would be helpful and constructive, and not allowing ourselves to be like, oh, we're so consumed with how many followers we have. We have to get this amount of followers, and if I get this amount of followers, then I'll be able to get myself signed or whatever, and I'll be able to get to a record label. Okay, but once you get to that record label, you have to create and generate revenue, and you have to pump out music, a lot of music. And if that's not being received well, or a lot of people on social media are continuing to keep scrolling on you, and you're not really like connecting with the people that you really want because you've been so focused on the digital, then you're being like, oh, well, okay, I'm at this position where I thought I was at the top and I've gotten this amount of followers, and now this is not working. I played the game. This is where I am. And I thought I'd be satisfied at this point, but no, now I have to step it up a notch. And even if I'm stepping up a notch, it's not really working because the record label, they're not pushing my music anymore because they don't see it as value to the consumer, because they keep swiping on it. They're not liking, they're not commenting, they're not engaging with it because I played the game, but now the game has played me. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, dang.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it happens. Like if you're not ready for the grind and anything you do, whether it's as an artist, in the corporate sector, no matter what you do, if you're not prepared for the grind or ready for that next level, then you're gonna you're gonna see the lack thereof, of the fruits of your labor. You know what I mean? So you got to be intentional with all you do. And I'm saying that's something that Jathan has been doing from since the time I've known him and seen him perform, and just the way he also supports other people as well. One of the last performances I seen him do, he was opening for one of his friends in the Northern Virginia area, and he put on a great show. He had his whole family there and stuff like that supporting him. So when it comes down to it, you may not have, and I'm just speaking to just people in general, you may not have who you think should be supporting you, but for those who are supporting you and they appreciate you and they care about you, take that, utilize that, and don't take it for granted, because there's people who have nobody in their corner and they do everything solo. They have nobody they can talk to. So to have at least one person that you can call, you can confide into, or you can share something you're proud about, or have them come out support you. You know what I'm saying? Just appreciate that, and just keep moving forward in everything that you're doing. Jathan, can you let them know where they can find you at social media wise?
Absolutely. You can find me at Jathan Blake, Jathan Blake, Blake, at any platforms. I'm on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok. YouTube, all of the platforms are at Jathan Blake.
All right. Well, I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for being on here, and y'all make sure that you follow him, check him out, and if you're within the area, the Denver area, if he is performing, make sure you come out and then see him live, and any of his current or new music, stream and share with others too, because he has a real message within his music. He's gonna get you on the dance floor. Until next time, everybody. This has been another edition of a Creators Like podcast. Harness your gift. Until next time, peace, y'all.
Peace.